Okay, we are live. Thanks everybody for joining us. We have a very diverse and exciting panel here today. This main panel is focused on the metaverse and the future of work. So I'm very excited to have all of our panelists joining us today. So I'd like to kind of start off by doing some brief introductions. If we could go around the virtual room, that would be great. Starting with Gary.
Yeah, sure. It's great to be here, and I love artificial intelligence and quantum computing, and of course the metaverse, because as we look, this is like the beginning of the 20th century, and as we're moving forward in our lives with this digital transformation upon us, and our lives becoming closer and closer together, the metaverse is really important. This whole digital transformations upon us. My name is Gary Fowler. I've done 17 startups. I've been involved in 2 unicorns. I'm also the CEO co-founder of Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in Silicon Valley, although I work all over the world. And it's great to be here, and look forward to the day today. Thank you.
Elizabeth?
Hey everyone, I'm Elizabeth Strickler, and I am a professor at Georgia State University. I work in 2 different departments. One is the Creative Media Industries Institute, where we teach students how to build augmented and virtual reality and the metaverse. And I also work in the business school where I direct the blockchain lab. So I'm excited to delve into the intersection of the 2 and the future of labor today.
Awesome. Beryl, if you could introduce yourself.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Beryl Lee, and I'm the co-founder of Yield Guild Games. Yield Guild Games is a gaming guild that's structured as a DAO, and we invest in a number of play-to-earn NFTs, and we loan them out as an uncollateralized loans to our community of players. And I handle finance for YGG.
Awesome. Up next, Jason.
Thank you very much, Alexis. I really appreciate it. My name is Jason Brink. A lot of you guys probably know me as Bitbender. I am the president of blockchain at Gala Games, and we believe very fundamentally in the player ownership of in-game assets. We are currently in the process of bringing somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 games to market, some of them developed by us, others developed by other outside studios. We focus very heavily on a play-to-earn type model, and I look very much forward to sharing some of that with you guys today.
Awesome. And so I'll also do a little brief introduction. President of Light No Media. Light No Media has been around since 2018, and we help various blockchain projects in the space build community, tell their story, build their online presence, and we've been running that again since spring of 2018. Then in summer of 2019, the other hat that I wear, I founded Legends Investment Network, which is the largest private investment network for professional athletes and entertainers. And we help educate pro athletes and entertainers in North America on things such as crypto and real estate and alternative investments. So I'm really excited to kick off this metaverse panel, and I have a wide variety of topics that I want to cover. But first and foremost, the metaverse and crypto and NFTs, these are all very big topics that have taken off in 2021. We've even, heard of announcements from Tesla, Facebook, Google, that these big tech companies are now devising specific initiatives to get into the metaverse. And so my question for you guys is, why do you think, big tech, crypto, and all these industries and sectors are now, really getting into the metaverse? And would you say that, COVID, the lockdown, quarantine has been basically, a catalyst for this transition and explosion of the metaverse and all these other sectors?
You want us to? Does anybody respond, or how do you want to?
Yeah, for anybody who's
Well, I mean, I can go. So one of the things, look at what's around us today. There are 49 zettabytes of data on the planet Earth. If we took CDs or DVDs and stacked them one on top of another, it would go 35 times between the Earth and the Moon. We're in a state of infobesity. At the same time, as the digital transformations upon us, McKinsey said about a year and a half before the COVID struck that 93% of the companies worldwide were going through the digital transformation and what can happen over the next 10 years. Well, that absolutely had to be sped up. So look at, Zoom. Look at how fast they acquired users because we needed to connect. We needed to still do business, and we're still in the crisis. The pandemic's not over yet. So the beauty of it is we've been forced into this metaverse, into this alternate world, because we needed to find that compassion. We needed to share our ideas. So the good news is we've broken down barriers. I know for myself, I start off in Asia in the morning and I end up in India in the evening. And I'm sure we're all about the same now. And it doesn't matter where you are or who you are, we have the ability to connect with each other and share ideas. We say is that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunity is not. The beauty of what's happened to each one of us is we had to look inside ourselves and we've had to look outside and connect the dots. And the dots are that we now have an opportunity to do business anywhere at any time with anybody we choose to. But at the same time, where these technologies will continue to evolve and continue to drive us through the metaverse into hyper-personalization and ways to look at things a lot differently than before. I'm interested in the impact of unsupervised AI. I'm working on some interesting projects, some you'll see in the next 3 years. Projects that will allow us to do things fundamentally different. Projects like, I just wrote an article in Forbes about replicating humans using artificial intelligence. And some of that's taken place today. So we're in a wonderful time. We've got a lot of challenges on the earth, right? We've got a population going from 8.1 billion to 13 billion at the end of this century. And at the same time, we've got to double the food production by 2050. So a lot of things need to take place. We need to work together to be able to solve them.
Yeah, I fully back up everything that you just said there, Gary. I think that one of the things that's really interesting about the place that we find ourselves in right now globally is that prior to this point in time, prior to COVID, your identity was the people that you saw face to face and your physical encounters throughout the world. And when everyone has to go and lock themselves in their office for a year, your identity becomes everything that you are digitally. Your collection of NFTs, your CryptoPunk that you use on Twitter. That's how people begin to know you, and your physical presence and your physical identity becomes less and less important. And increasingly, as we become more and more and more globalized, our identities, me being an American, et cetera, becomes less and less important, and I become a citizen of the globe, a citizen of the metaverse. And that's the direction that I think that we're eventually going to be going. And I think that we're hurtling there very quickly. And I'm super excited.
I'd really like to jump on that because I so fully agree, Jason. This whole idea of identifying yourself with things that you actually buy, which is a bizarre concept. But I think that the NFT was so critical to our move into the metaverse because we can now trade in a way that is equitable, peer to peer. And that's what has really exploded this understanding of moving into the metaverse and being able to be an individual, as your avatar or whatever, because of the things you own, which sounds trite, but is actually psychologically proven that is actually how we identify ourselves. And then also to be able to trade and buy things from each other is not a canned world anymore. It's not like a canned avatar with canned skins and canned clothing. It's things that we can identify ourselves with.
So from my end, yeah, I agree with everybody that's actually has spoken in this group. I just wanted to add that yes, it has the pandemic has definitely accelerated, the move to the metaverse. Maybe I'll give the Philippines as an example, or emerging markets. So since the pandemic started, there has been a massive improvement in our internet infrastructure in the Philippines. Um, a lot of people have also lost jobs. There's already a huge underemployment even before the pandemic, and it's just accelerated the loss of jobs even more. But because so a lot of the jobs here are mostly factory workers, like Grab drivers, yeah. So they're mostly like physical jobs, and because of the lockdowns in the Philippines, they're forced to actually stay at home. And with an internet, with a mobile connection and internet connectivity, they're actually able to just like play games at home. And there has been an explosion of players playing games at these emerging markets. So yes, I believe it's definitely a catalyst.
Awesome. Yep, I agree. And so my next question is a little bit more, focused for you, Gary. Can you tell us a little bit about GSD Venture Studios in detail, and touch on your investment philosophy, your investment thesis thus far?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I've been in tech for 37 years. I've done 17 companies. I went to Russia and I started the first accelerator there. The reason that's important, I work with Guy Kawasaki. I work with Steve Blank and Bob Dorff. All of them were involved in my program because we wanted to make a little bit of difference. Because, as I said, intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. With that knowledge, I understood I remember my first entrepreneurs club, it had 3 people and it grew. My last one that I had over 2,500 people. So I understood that you can create a movement. But I also feel that in order to solve the problems that face us on this planet today, whether it's global warming, average temperatures could be up 8.6 degrees by the end of this century, population boom, climate change, we're going to have to all band together to solve these problems. With GSD, Get Shit Done, by the way, it's all about execution. That's the official name of our company. And what we believe in is that there are entrepreneurs all over the world that are really untapped. And so I said, well, and my partner, we decided to go down through and create a very diverse board. One of the board members of the NAACP is on my board. And it's not because, and I'm, my grandmother's from North Africa myself, but it's more an opportunity that each person needs to be represented. So female, male, whatever, the disadvantaged need to come in and turn it into an opportunity, because there are so many opportunities. I can tell you today, I've got 5 companies in Nigeria today. People say, oh, why would you ever go to Nigeria? You don't want to go there. But guess what? When you mine opportunities, you find some of the brightest minds in the world, and a population of 206 million, with a continent having 1.3 billion. These are opportunities that each and every one of us, we can all work together to make a difference. Now, at the same time, I talk about infobesity. One of the things that I believe in, and I've written 161 articles in the last 18 months. So if you look at Forbes or the United Nations, you'll see there's a lot out there. I'm just a country boy, but I like to write. So what I say is that in order to solve the problems of the future with this infobesity, the data, think about it, Alexis. In your own world, you have about 300,000 items. The entire World Wide Web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. You, Alexis, have more information today than the entire web in 96, and that number is following the same trajectory. It's doubling every year. In 5 years with the Internet of Things, you'll have 10 million. To the audience here, think about your lives. How many times the last 2 weeks has somebody said, I sent you a message? Did you get it? Where did you send it? I sent it to your email. Which one? I sent it to your Gmail, your private one. When did you send it? A week and a half ago. Will you resend it? I can't find it. We are in big trouble, no matter what kind of education, where you're going to Babson College, or you're going to MIT or Georgia State or wherever you've gone. We have a problem. We need to solve it, because there's going to be 2 levels of society: the people that understand data and the people that don't. At GSD, what we want to do is we want to make our own dent in the universe, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And I've been very fortunate to do NASDAQ IPOs. One of the companies I was on the original team of sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion. I've been very fortunate. But the thing is, we need to work together, band together to solve these problems. And in GSD, it's not just AI is really important, quantum computing, because it's going to fundamentally change our lives, cybersecurity, because all these things about NFTs, blockchain will be cracked by quantum computers. I just had this discussion with the head of the quantum lab at Harvard. So we need to band together to make ourselves secure and to make a dent. We also need to look beyond our boundaries. There's 6 billion Earth-like planets in the Milky Way and 2 trillion galaxies estimated in the universe, according to my friend, one of the NASA astronauts, Christopher Altman. We need to look beyond. And I have hope. I believe we can do it, but we need to stop fighting. I just spoke at the United Nations a few weeks ago, and I'm speaking again October 1st. I believe it's a time for us to band together to solve these problems. Forget about the bickering, forget about greed, figure out how we can work together to help each other to solve it. I'm not saying this is an entitlement. I'm telling you directly, I put my money where my mouth is. I fund female entrepreneurs that come into my program. I had the first Black Russian in my program in Russia. Half my students were females, and we gave them a lot of scholarships. But guess what? They're some of my most successful companies. So we can do it if we do it together. We use Silicon Valley, Alexis, as a port, because if you look at it, Silicon Valley is a port to the rest of the world. Doesn't matter where you're from Singapore, from Hong Kong, from China, from Russia, but it's a great place to come out of, and it's a great place to have contacts and connections. That's what we do. So we work with family offices. We work with the top VCs. We're working on, one of my companies was sold 3 weeks ago. I have another one's going to be funded tomorrow. One of them's getting funded for 10 million. I mean, we're cooking, but it's about working together.
Awesome. And that segues into my next question. It looks like you've funded a lot of companies. A lot of them have been successful, IPO'd. Have there been any companies thus far that you have backed that are, working on metaverse initiatives and or in the crypto space?
I mean, the thing is, I'm working on a project called Tempest right now, which is time. And I just wrote an article in Forbes about it. So if you look at a Tokenized Economy, you'll see it was written, I put it out 3 weeks ago. But I mean, think about it. When we're going down through and we're talking about token, what's about? It's about your time. It's almost like engagement and loyalty as you would have it at one of the airlines. But it's about your time and what is the value. We got to figure this out a little bit better. It's not a flat model. It's not a binary model. It's a model where we need to value the kind of things we're putting into it and start to build a more of a 360-degree approach, because just from my perspective, it's, the Germans have a phrase, Gestalt, the sum of the parts equal the whole. We need to really tie this together, and not in a one part way, but in the sum of all the parts together. And so I'm working on some of those. The AI that we're working on, the cybersecurity are working, they're all tied into the metaverse, because they're all issues that we're going to have. If we're going to have the metaverse and it's going to work properly, and we're going to relate to each other with AR and VR, and we need to have empathy. We need to have compassion. We need to have systems out there that are really friendly to us. And some of the technologies out there today aren't. We're actually in the process of developing some of those technologies. And I've written another article in Forbes about that. So
awesome. Really, really appreciate your contributions, and definitely everybody should follow your fund and your socials and see what you're up to. My next question is a little bit more focused towards Elizabeth, who is the only panelist here within academia. And so my question for you, Elizabeth, I have a couple questions, is, really, can you tell us a little bit more about, your focus and your practice within Georgia State University? Are there any courses that you teach or of within the university focusing on, let's say, crypto and or the metaverse? So yeah, those two questions.
Well, yeah. So I just wanted to follow up on, Gary's, conversation around sort of exponential technologies and how to teach them and how to empower students or young people to use them. Georgia State University graduates more African Americans than any university in the United States. So we have a huge, diverse population, which is super exciting. We also are one of the cultural capitals of the world, where the largest hip hop production comes out of Atlanta, and Georgia produces the most film and television. So we're a very strong cultural capital, but that group of people has traditionally not been paid well in the creative industries. And so, to Gary's point, your time needs to be valued in a new way that we haven't figured out yet. So tokenizing your time, trying to figure out how much creative labor goes into something, is something that we are teaching students. Well, we're teaching them to understand, AI, not so much quantum, but augmented and virtual reality, blockchain, and really trying to understand how these technologies will impact their future, in just how they live and how they work. And I think the merging of work and play is very interesting. So yes, our students are learning how to create virtual worlds, and by creating avatars, volumetrically capturing people's moves and rigging, creating clothing or skins for the avatars, creating games in virtual worlds. So our students are slowly building brick by brick the metaverse, and we're teaching them how to do that. But while we're doing that, we are also teaching them to figure out ways to monetize through entrepreneurship and innovation, and teaching them things like blockchain and NFT, and how that might empower them. Um, and uh, one other class that we're adding on in May is, I'll be working with Sandy Kond, who is a blockchain programmer, and together we'll be teaching the students how to create decentralized applications to take advantage of all of the new technologies. So, and plus I run the blockchain lab, so a lot of the stuff is not in classes, and it's students doing really wonderful, exciting um, uh, collaborations, teaching each other things, because that's, this sort of decentralization is hitting academia as well. And so the students can all learn from each other. And I bring a lot of professionals in. Right now, I'm also running a lecture series called The Metaverse and the Future of Work and Play, where every week I have a international speaker come in, and it's open to the public. So I'm also kind of trying to keep the boundaries of the university open for flow inward and outward. I hope that answers some of the question.
Yes, yes, and it's a good segue into my next question, because you mentioned Atlanta's definitely a capital for culture. It's definitely a big capital culture, and focusing on hip hop, movies, et cetera, et cetera. It's also been emerging and discovering a new identity as a fintech hub, and a fintech and crypto capital. Do you see Atlanta being able to, compete with, other cities and states such as New York or San Francisco, and how do you see that evolving?
Yeah, so one of the things that I like to say is we started something called the Georgia Film Academy, where we got all the universities to work together to help create the um, labor that goes into creating films, and have our students kind of flow into that. So we use that same model. So I was part of the group that built the Georgia Film Academy. So we use that same model to create the Georgia FinTech Academy, which is teaching students, fintech. But to me, the sweet spot is the intersection of fintech and media, honestly, because I think that money is boring, and the NFT makes trade and commerce much more exciting and engaging and game oriented. And I think this is where we're struggling all right now to kind of understand what is work and what is play and what is investment. And so, yes, I do think that that Atlanta can, but again, so I do think the physical presence of Georgia and Atlanta is wonderful, but I also believe what Jason is saying, that sometimes our geographical location might not be as key as we migrate to the metaverse.
Yes, agreed. And you mentioned a couple of times there, NFTs and future of work and gaming, and that's kind of segueing into the next major theme, that I have and want to address, mostly Jason and Beryl, on really the future of gaming, NFTs that have exploded this year, and more specifically for you guys, how do you guys foresee the NFT space, gaming space, transforming the crypto industry? Jason, you can start.
Sure, I can start. I think to understand the future of gaming, we really need to look at the past of gaming first. Gaming back in the day, when I was in elementary school, the first Nintendo was out, and we would go to class with a game cartridge in our backpack, and we would trade it with our friends, and that was our game cartridge, and nobody else could take it away from us, and we could take it home, and we would do that awesome like blow it out thing, and then put it in and play a game, and that was ownership to us. Once cloud deployment of games became a thing, games quit being something that you physically owned. You never had to go to the store anymore to buy the box, to take it home, to get the CDs, to get the cartridges, to get whatever, and it just became something that existed in Steam. Okay, which is super cool. Don't get me wrong; it's amazing, but the concept of ownership was completely and totally lost. What we're working on doing with the blockchain, and what I believe the future of gaming is that your items, your games, everything that you own will be verifiably yours, and you can do with it what you will. Our CEO, Eric Schiermeier, who is one of the co-founders of Zynga, likes to talk about a hypothetical toy store. What would it be like if you went into a toy store and you purchased a toy for your kid, and a few days later, your kid was using the toy in a way that, the toy store did not like. And so the toy store shows up and, comes in your front door and takes the toy away from your kid and walks back out and says, hey, that's a toss violation, good luck. Nobody would accept that. But we've all accepted that with digital gaming. And this is what we're working on solving with blockchain gaming and giving players ownership of their assets. When you own an NFT, whether it's for Townstar, Mirandus, or any of the other awesome blockchain-based games that are out there, it's yours. And that is an absolutely critical component moving forward into the future. And I think that the play-to-earn ecosystem is also going to be very important. And I'll just segue it over to Beryl there.
Yeah, so what's really interesting, I think Jason already mentioned that the blockchain actually enables like a creator economy, right? So when people actually create NFTs through the blockchain, then you become the main owner of that particular asset. So maybe taking a step back, what are NFTs, right? So these are non-fungible tokens. So you actually have unique metadata of a particular asset or token. So these are actual digital assets, and then they have unique metadata from another digital asset. So no two digital assets are the same, right? And if I actually own that particular NFT, no other person could actually own that NFT as well. So I think this is the power of the blockchain. And what's really interesting is when I actually create assets. So what's really interesting is people can actually create assets on the blockchain. They can trade it. And what this new economy is doing, the play to earn phenomenon, is people actually end up being lenders of their assets. They become investors as well of these assets. And yeah, you enable creators as well. So it's play to earn. Gaming on the blockchain has opened a new paradigm right? It's a new paradigm shift. You're creating a new economy and enabling more participants. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, and question for you both, Beryl, Jason, I guess everybody is, what role do NFTs play when it comes to the economy inside of the metaverse? And really, what do we see when it comes to the future and convergence of DeFi and NFTs in the metaverse?
I think that there's a lot that we can talk about when it comes to the fundamental economics of a game and an NFT. One of the things that game designers for a long time have sort of played fast and loose with is the concept of in-game economics. If it's just a database-backed record, it doesn't really matter, right? You can make as many swords of whatever as you want, and nobody's going to know or care because it's just in a database. And you see this with really any online game you care to think of. However, when you do this with NFTs, there's a whole different level that comes into this where you have to make sure that you're balancing the economy correctly. You have to make sure that you're not releasing too much or too little of something, and a lot more thought goes into it. And this is one of those things that actually enables that play to earn mechanism that YGG and other organizations leverage so well. Because essentially what you need to do is you need to find a way to enable that economy to create opportunities for the people who are willing to play and are willing to take the time to do something that will essentially allow somebody else to pay their way through the game to a certain extent. So for example, if you have somebody who is in the Philippines who is willing to sit down and play a game for 6-8 hours or whatever it happens to be to chop wood or farm gold or whatever it happens to be, they can then turn around and sell the NFT that they have gotten in the game to somebody elsewhere in the world who's willing to pay $50 for it, or $100 for it, and that's something that we see all the time. I mean, one of the great success stories, and I know YGG has tons of these, is when people are able to gain financial freedom through their play and through the NFTs that they've managed to earn. We have somebody who has managed to purchase their first house in their family's history because of playing Townstar. And that's super cool. And it all boils down to the NFTs and the economic opportunities that they provide. And that only expands when you link it with concepts like, GameFi and DeFi and things like that.
Yeah, it certainly is empowering. So looking at DeFi right now and crypto, setting up a MetaMask account is really difficult. I think like a lot of players in the community don't know how yield farming works, does not know how to purchase Ether. And a lot of, especially in emerging economies, they don't have capital to actually start to actually invest in crypto. And so guilds or gaming become like this intersection with crypto, because first of all, if they do not have capital, then guilds like for example, like what we're doing at YGG, we lend them out to players that don't have capital to begin with, right? And when they get to actually have these assets, they get to earn, because so like Axie Infinity, a game that a lot of players have been downloading in the Philippines, they just enter a game with, for example, 3 Axies, they battle them, and then through time, when you actually spend hours battling, they end up earning in-game assets called Smooth Love Potion. Now, the Smooth Love Potion can be converted into fiat currency through regulated exchanges in the Philippines. And these are where a lot of our players end up converting to fiat. They buy food on the table, milk for their kids. To an extent, they get to actually earn, earn funds to pay off their non-ending loan in the Philippines. and at the same time they're able to, their mindset completely changes, because from somebody with no previous history of savings or a bank account, they end up thinking, hey, look, I'm earning, now I can pay out my debt, now I could actually use my funds to maybe invest my own assets instead of my own assets, and start my own scholarship account and support more players by lending out assets and breeding these assets. And then they make their own decision of, should I actually buy my own house, or should I continue my rent and lease, right? So this is true financial freedom for a lot of, gaming has actually enabled financial freedom in that respect. I think Jason already mentioned, what they could actually do with their in-game rewards. And it's truly empowering. And in the future, a play to earn account could actually be more valuable than a bank account, because with a bank account, to open one, you actually need capital in the first place, when a lot of Filipinos actually don't. So having a play to earn account, having access to uncollateralized loans, and then being supported by their managers on how to exchange these in-game rewards to fiat. They actually learn how to use DeFi, DeFi protocols, and cryptocurrency applications as well.
Awesome. Yeah, the play to earn model is really truly a paradigm shift, especially in developing economies. And how do you see this play to earn model kind of evolving over time, and maybe yield guild games evolving over time?
So I think the play to earn enables creators, enables more developers wanting to actually build games. I think Axie Infinity has been one of the first games that has really proven that there's really demand for play to earn, that people actually play to actually earn a living. And because of that, we're now questioning, maybe people can actually end up just playing games as a way of creating income, and is this sustainable? Now, I think to be sustainable in the future, we need to observe more games. So I think we want to encourage more developers to build more exciting games, to be able to match the interests of players, of different interests. So it encouraged a new economy. So from creators, investors, people lending, it becomes an intersection with DeFi. So I think that's the direction of play to earn, and it could be truly exciting and open doors for a lot of people in the community that never had access to financial services, as an example.
Awesome. And we have a couple minutes left, and so I just want to have some more open-ended questions. I want to preface this with, this is not financial advice, but in everybody's opinion here, where do you see the biggest opportunities to, generally speaking, invest and build in the metaverse? Is it real estate? Is it digital real estate, objects, art, digital art? Where do you guys see the biggest opportunities to be? Starting with Jason.
I think that I'm going to dive in here and redefine that a little bit. I would say that the best thing that you can do is invest your time. Get involved in projects, connect with people, build a network, find out why people do the things that they do, what they think, what they're working on. And I think that if everyone does that, I know that when I first entered the blockchain space in 2013, 2014, that was absolutely critical to my success in the space. And I think that is what I would, recommend everyone do. It's not about yeeting, money into something. It's about spending time and building that connection and that network and being part of that community.
Yep. Elizabeth, Beryl, you have any comments on that?
I really like that answer, Jason, and I would just sort of add to that, which is, we're talking about, gaming and buying skins for your avatar and clothing. And it sounds, Gary started off with these like real world problems that need to be solved. So I think that what we're seeing is sort of this ability to incentivize behavior that is for a community or a group of people or the world. So I do see that like games and playing to earn, there is something there that will enable people to do good things for themselves, for their family, for their community, whatever those might be. And we're just kind of, game mechanics have been around for a long time, but now we're talking about like whole life game mechanics. So it's very fascinating to me. So yes, but definitely connection with the other human and human-centered design. And it's about the human and society. So yeah.
Awesome. I think we're unfortunately out of time, but I appreciate everybody's contributions to this panel. And thanks again, and looking forward to the next session.
All right. Thank you. It was great to be here today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
That was
thank
great.
you, everyone.